So, you're looking into applying for Social Security disability because of depression or anxiety. And let's be honest, the whole process can feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle in the dark. It's complicated, it can be really overwhelming, and the rules, they're not always crystal clear. Well, in this explainer, we're going to turn on the lights and give you a clear map to navigate it all. So, what's the secret? What's the thing they're actually looking for? Because it's definitely not just about having a diagnosis from your doctor. It's all about proving that your condition fits a very, very specific set of rules. So the real question is, how does the Social Security Administration, the SSA, actually make that call? Okay, here's the best way to wrap your head around this whole thing. I want you to picture a giant filter system. This is basically what the SSA uses. They have this series of checkpoints or filters, and your application has to pass through them one by one to get approved. So let's walk through that system right now.
At its heart, this whole filter system is really built around three main gates that you have to get through. If you can understand how these three gates work together, you'll understand the entire process.
And here is the core formula. If you remember one thing, remember this. It's A plus B or C, okay? You absolutely must pass that first filter, the diagnosis filter, which the SSA just calls paragraph A. Once you do that, you have a choice. You need to pass either the work limits filter, which is paragraph B, or you can pass the long-term history filter, which is paragraph C. Let's break down what each of those really means.
First up is that diagnosis filter, paragraph A. This gate is all about one thing, medical proof. Your doctor's notes, your official diagnosis, those are the keys to get through this gate. You have to prove, right there on paper, that your condition meets the SSA's official definition.
And right away, we hit a really key difference. The rules are not the same for every diagnosis. If you have a depressive disorder, the SSA needs to see medical records documenting at least 5 specific symptoms. But if you have an anxiety disorder, that number is actually lower. It's 3.
So, for depression, remember this number, 5. It's the magic number. Your medical records have to consistently show at least 5 specific signs of the disorder from the SSA's official checklist.
And here's that checklist they use. Your records have to show at least 5 of these things. We're talking about stuff like a depressed mood, losing interest in things you used to enjoy, big changes in sleep or appetite, low energy, or trouble concentrating. It's all about building a very clear medical picture from your doctor's notes.
All right, now let's switch gears to anxiety disorders. Like we said, the number here is different. You need to have medical documentation for at least 3 specific symptoms from their list.
For anxiety, that list includes things like restlessness, being easily fatigued, irritability, or muscle tension. The main thing, again, is that at least 3 of these have to be consistently written down in your medical files to get you past this first gate.
Okay, so you made it through the diagnosis gate. Now you're staring at paragraph B. And I want you to lean in for this part, because honestly, this is where most claims are won or lost. This is where you have to prove not just what your diagnosis is, but how it physically and mentally stops you from being able to work.
This quote really says it all. The focus completely shifts. It's no longer about your diagnosis label, it's about your real-world limitations. The SSA needs to understand, in very practical terms, how your symptoms keep you from doing basic work activities. So how do they measure that? Well, they have a yardstick, and it's broken down into these 4 key areas. They look at your ability to do things like, understand and remember instructions, get along with coworkers and the public, stay focused and keep a steady pace, and manage yourself in a workplace.
So how do they grade you on those 4 areas? They use 2 key ratings: marked, which basically means you're seriously limited in that area, and extreme, which means you pretty much can't function in that area at all. Now here's the rule. To pass this filter, you need to have 1 extreme limitation, or you need to have 2 marked limitations. It's a very specific, high bar to clear.
But wait, what if you don't quite fit into that strict extreme or marked box? Well, the SSA knows that can happen, so there's an alternative path. It's called paragraph C. Think of it as a kind of safety net, but it's really designed for a very specific type of long-term case.
This path is built for people with what the SSA calls a serious and persistent mental health condition. It's a recognition that some people have such a long, documented history of treatment and are in such a fragile state that even if they don't have 1 extreme limitation, they are still absolutely unable to work.
The foundation of any claim under paragraph C is time. To even be considered for this path, you have to show at least a 2-year medically documented history of your disorder. That's what they mean when they say serious and persistent.
And on top of that 2-year history, you have to prove 2 more things. First, that you're getting ongoing medical treatment, like therapy or meds, that helps you function. And second, you have to show something they call marginal adjustment. It's a fancy term that just means you have a very minimal ability to adapt to change. You're barely holding on, and any small change in your routine could cause you to fall apart.
So, we've gone through the A, B, and C filters. But before we finish, let's zoom out and cover 3 golden rules. These apply to every single claim, no matter which path you end up taking. First golden rule, the 12-month rule. This is a big one. Your condition must have already lasted, or be expected to last, for at least 12 continuous months. A really bad episode that only lasts for a few months, even if it's severe, just won't qualify. They're looking for long-term impairment.
Second golden rule. You need something called longitudinal evidence. It sounds like a complicated term, but it's actually pretty simple. It means the SSA doesn't care about a snapshot of how you felt on one particular day. They want to see the whole movie. They want to see the long-term story, told consistently through your doctor's notes over many months or even years. For them, consistency is everything.
And the third golden rule is knowing the difference between objective and subjective evidence. Your story, what you tell them about your symptoms and how they limit you, that's the subjective part. And it is important. But what the SSA gives the most weight to is the objective evidence. These are the cold, hard facts, your doctor's clinical observations, the results of mental status exams, your treatment history. And this really brings us to the most important takeaway of all. While your personal story is absolutely vital, for the SSA to say yes, that story has to be backed up and detailed in your medical records. Because when it comes right down to it, while what you say matters, what your doctor writes down matters a whole lot more. Which leaves us with one final and really critical question. The entire process, all the rules, all the filters, it all really hinges on the answer to this one thing. When you look at your own medical history, is the full story of your condition and how it limits you truly documented? Because in the world of Social Security disability, that's what makes all the difference.